everybody. Today we are going to be making a wizard. We're going to use the model Magic. We have our cardboard cones, some marbles. For our paint, we're going to be using some of the acrylic metallic paint. You can really use any acrylic or tempera. We have just some old forks, spoons, and knives plastic, some gems, and mixing cups. And again, we need some other colors for his hair. So we're going to have some white and some gray. So we're going to use all of these different colors, a skin color. And again, you can use tempera or acrylic for this. So the first part, we're going to open one of our packets of clay. I try to keep it to about 3 to 4 1-ounce packets. So with our first one, we want to flatten this out and keep this nice and thin, and we're going to spread it evenly around the cone. As you do this, just make sure to try to keep it as thin as you can. You want it just so that you don't have any holes in it, but you want to spread it out as smooth as possible. So I'm just going to take a little bit more from another packet, about a half of it, just to finish. So again, this is about 1.5 ounces of the Model Magic. Look at the bottom of your cone. You can turn it upside down and you can see the thickness around the edges of your clay. If there's one area that's thicker than the other, you want to try to keep it as uniform as possible. Now I'm still using a little bit of that clay that's left over, and I'm going to make the floppy part of his hat. If you notice, I'm using the knife. You can use any plastic tool. Sculpting tools are great, but again, if you are just using things that you have in your home, some of the plastic utensils work great, and we're just going to fold it, kind of shape it into whatever shape you like. I'm going to roll out the rim of the hat, or the brim, I should say, and then we're going to attach this. And again, the most important part of working with the Model Magic is making sure that you're really attaching the seam of the clay. So where the two pieces of clay meet, you want to use your tools, whether that's a spoon or a knife or a fork or any type of sculpting tool. And you want to make sure that you're really going to make sure that the seams are going together. So again, I'm pulling the clay. You can even score the clay, which is making some tooth marks using the back of your fork or the back of a knife, the two pieces that are adjoining. But I'm going to go around and I'm going to make sure that that seam is really nice and smooth. And I'm going to explain to you why you want to do this a little bit later. This part is going to be for his beard. So just shape this into whatever beard you want. Your wizard doesn't have to have a beard. It can be a female wizard, but this one I wanted to make a male old man wizard. And again, I'm making sure to attach those seams. I'm going to pinch out the shape of a nose, just using the existing clay. I can use my tool to press in a mouth area. And I can also make sure that I'm giving the beard some texture. So I'm going to be using a fork. You can use the edge of your knife and give him a little bit more texture. Here I'm going to roll out a small piece to be a mustache. This piece is going to be for the hair of the wizard, so I'm just going to roll out almost like a rectangular shape, but really you can come up with any type of hair design that you want. You can do long stringy pieces, but this one I wanted him to have a pretty uniform length to his hair, and I'm again going to press this along the back of him, and I'm going to blend that so that the seams are nice and sealed. Okay, now we're going to open up our third package of clay. And this one we're going to take and divide in half. This is going to end up being the arms that are going to stretch around the back of the wizard toward the front. So I'm going to attach it going around his back and coming forward. Once it's securely attached, you can start molding the shape of the hands and also creating the look of sleeves that are slightly flopping over his hands. Now, I don't go into full detail with creating fingers. I'm just giving the look of the palm of his hand, just the idea that there's a hand there. And you can go into as much or as little detail as you want. But again, this is where our marble is going to be sitting. So I'm just going to start using my tools to start shaping his hands and also giving the look of the fabric that's going to drape over his hands. Again, you're going to notice how I'm smoothing and making sure that that clay is attached at all its seams so that way there's going to be no separation. So I'm going around using my knife tool or any tool that you have, making sure that I'm happy with all of the texture and that everything is smooth and really secure so that there's going to be no risk of the clay falling apart. That's where the marble is going to be sitting. So now I'm going to go in and create some texture. You could have done this with clay, but this is kind of the quicker route. So I'm just giving the illusion that this is fabric for his cloak. So I'm kind of marking in where I think the fabric lines would be. And I can also go back and give him some pockets too. So you're seeing I'm going to do that, and I'm going to pull away from the clay to create the inside of the pocket. I'm going to press in here to create the look of his eyes. You can add as much detail on the face as you want and just kind of shaping out his mouth a little bit more. This is what can go wrong. You can see all of the separation. This is if you did not attach your clay properly. This is a dried wizard, and you can see where all the separation has been because it was not attached using the tools and smoothing. Had I used the knife and really smoothed and blended the two pieces of clay, we wouldn't have the separation. If this does happen to your clay, you can always go back and add in a small piece into the section that's separated and give it some time to dry before painting it. Now I'm going to go in and paint his skin color. And for his hair color, I'm choosing to use a little bit of black and white to create a gray. You can make his hair color any color you wish. I just wanted him to look like an older wizard. So I'm going to go ahead and paint in his gray hair. And also I'm not going to forget to paint his beard and mustache and even add in some eyebrows. Going to take some of my acrylic metallic paint, and again, you can use any color. This one I'm going to use a little bit of turquoise for his hat, and I'm going to choose a different color for his cloak. You can use everything as the same color, or you can mix it up. You can add a design to yours, but for this one I'm going to do the turquoise and the purple. Now I'm going to put his purple on for his cloak. I like to hold the inside, putting my whole hand inside the cone, so that way I don't have to risk it getting on the table or sitting anywhere. I can literally turn in any direction I need. I've also switched to a smaller brush, so that way I can get into all the nooks and crannies. Over here, if I wanted to leave this white, I could have, to given it a look of like fur along his collar. And now I'm going to go ahead, once it's dry, get out my glue gun and attach one of those marbles onto the palm of his hand. So I'm just squeezing a small amount of glue, holding it there for a second. Once the glue dries, you can pull off all the little stringy parts that kind of come off. And for the last part, I'm going to just take one of my gemstones, choosing a purple one. I'm going to add a little bit onto the surface of his hat. I advise picking some flat area, whether on the cloak or on the hat, and then sticking it on. And for the last step, I'm just going to take a Sharpie and give him some eye details. And there we have our wizard.